Hi, I'm Michael and this is California, and today we're going to talk about the new ruling out of the SBA that came out yesterday about a safe harbor provision for small businesses who got the PPP loans. So we're going to talk about the new provision as well as do I think it's fair and do I think it's the right decision by the SBA and the Treasury. Now before we do that, if you like this information, if you find it interesting, you find it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So if we think back to when the pandemic first started, and the lockdown happened, everything was essentially dead, right? We had no people coming in, we had no business running, and it left small business owners like myself and probably a lot of you out there wondering, how are you going to keep that business running? How are you going to pay your employees? How are you going to pay your rent? And should we actually keep the lights on when we're forced to keep the doors closed? So when the PPP loan got announced, it was a shining beacon in the dark. It was a means for us to get some extra cash to help us through the next 8 weeks to help keep everybody employed and keep everything running while the lockdown was happening. And for those of us who were able to get it, yeah, there was lots of problems with people getting it, but for those of us who were able to get it, it really was a godsend. It helped us keep everything stable, keep all of our employees, and keep everything viable. And for small businesses, that was great. But it turns out a lot of big businesses were also able to get huge amounts of money, loan application money, based off of the very vague rules about applying. And they used some accounting chicanery to get around those different rules. So lots of money went into the hands of maybe businesses who didn't really need it, who weren't really struggling the same way that small businesses were. The SBA and the Treasury Department got grilled, and they got grilled from all sides. People asking them, why did they put so much money into the hands of big businesses who didn't need the money when it should have gone to small businesses who actually need the money right now because of the pandemic? And so the SBA started utilizing one part of the application that said that the applicant would not be able to get the money unless they could certify that the current economic uncertainty makes the loan request necessary to support ongoing operations of the applicant. And it's tricky because the way they define necessary basically means that the applicant didn't have any other resources, didn't have any other lines of credit, money in their bank account, money in the business bank account from anywhere that they could utilize to keep the business running, making the PPP loan a loan of last resort. And this makes things complicated for small business folks for a variety of reasons, mainly because they don't have the resources to really certify what they're asking for. They don't have CPAs, they don't have lawyers, they don't have a financial department who goes line by line through all these procedures to figure out if what they are applying for is based on a necessity that they actually need. And then furthermore, the SBA released what's called Safe Harbor Act that asked business owners who couldn't certify that the loan was necessary to give back the money by May 14th or potentially face jail time. So after all of that, all those lost nights of sleep, all that stress, all that anxiety by small business owners trying to figure out if they should give that money back or face jail time, on the 14th, the SBA and the Treasury released a new safe harbor rule saying that businesses that got PPP loans that are less than $2 million will automatically have certification in good faith, meaning that they were automatically assumed that if you got a PPP loan for less than $2 million, that you actually needed the loan. So you don't have to worry about returning that money. You don't have to worry about going to jail. As long as that's under $2 million, then you should be okay. But for businesses that are larger, that got larger than $2 million PPP loans, they are still going to be subject to that scrutiny about proving whether they needed the money or not. And I think that seems to be pretty fair. Overall, I think the new safe harbor rule is fair. And although at best it was ham-handed by the SBA, the way that they handled this whole issue, it makes sense that they're trying to get the money back from those big businesses that got money who didn't really need it, and they essentially took money that could have been into the hands of small businesses who actually do need it. It also makes sense that they're going to put the scrutiny on big businesses, but have less scrutiny on those small businesses, those businesses who got loans for less than $2 million. And the reality is that small businesses, they always need the extra money. They could probably certify at any time that they need the extra money just because the process of growing and also keeping your business running makes it very, very difficult. It puts you always on the existential edge of existence. Think about it. Being a small business means that even the smallest wave, the smallest wind can sink your whole boat. So if you're getting less than $2 million, you're probably a small business. A majority of businesses in America are small businesses. It makes sense to make sure that they can get that money when they need it. Now, the question is, what happens to those folks who made that decision to give the money back? They said, hey, you know what? I can't risk my family. I can't risk going to jail over some accounting that I didn't have the resources to do, so I'm going to give that money back. So are those folks going to be able to go back to the SBA and say, hey, I actually don't want to return the money. I want to get the money back, or how any of that's going to work? That would be a great question to follow up later. And if you had returned your PPP loan, definitely reach out to the SBA and figure out if you can get that money back, because undoubtedly there's going to be some people whose businesses are going to close because they had to give the money back. They couldn't take that risk. Thank you so much for watching our video today. If you did like the information, if you found it useful, if you found it helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. Also, if you have any questions, you have any comments, put them down below in the comment box. We love to see your comments and questions. We'll be happy to answer them or make a new video or a new post as soon as we can. Now, also, we here at California, we know health insurance. So if you have questions about Covered California or private health insurance or Medicare or Medicaid or Medi-Cal or even any sort of plan for your small business, we can help you look at all those different options and walk you through that whole process. I know it can be very frustrating trying to figure out what insurance options are if you're leaving your work insurance and now you need to get private health insurance, or you're turning 65 and you're looking at what your Medicare options are. We can walk you through that whole process. We can help you look at what your benefits are, what your costs are, and what plan best fits your needs. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us at the information below, and we'll be happy to walk you through that process. So other than that, I'm Michael, and this is California, wishing you a happy, healthy day.